Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a brand new episode of 343. I can't actually remember what number this episode is. Might be 35. Can't really keep track, but I'm AF, joined by my co hosts, Jason, Rani, and Wasim Ibrahim. How you guys doing?
All good. Top of the world, actually.
Yeah,
Top of
doing
the
well,
world.
man. Doing well. Hanging on there.
I'm just listening to Wasim's top of the world over there, and obviously that's Newcastle related. Has to be
Mm.
Newcastle related. Um,
Yeah, actually
yeah,
avoided you for a couple of weeks because when we were on our slump and you asked me to be on the show, I always had to come up with some sort of excuse not to be on the show. But now we've had 2 wins on the trot, so now I'm happy to come back on the show. So yeah, giving my game away, but yeah, that is what happened.
yeah.
Yeah.
This
What did
guy
you
he
in that
loses
game?
that final, that League Cup final, and then he just goes MIA, just disappears completely.
Yeah, literally sends like one or two messages in the group, reply or the message here, reply, and then the guy's just quiet, he's just biding his time.
Yeah.
Um,
I must admit it
well,
was a bit of heartbreak for that final because I thought somehow we'd pitch up and United had like 6 games in I think it was like 18 days or something, and I thought
mm,
we're going to catch them on a bad day in the final, and it
yeah,
wasn't to be. So I needed a lot of time to get over that defeat, but here we are.
No, it seems like you guys bounced back uh, quite well. It took a bit of time. You guys did have a bit of a slump there for a bit, and like I mean, like we chatted about this in our WhatsApp group a
yeah,
couple of times about like what was happening at Newcastle and what's been going on with Eddie Howe. Like his team selections were a bit questionable, like for a couple of games, but it seems like he stabilized quite a bit. You want to give your views on what's been happening around Newcastle about their slump and just like how they've bounced back and in what way they've bounced back.
Yeah, I think the slump coincided with when we reached the League Cup final. We had about a month to go before the actual final, so it was almost as if mentally the guys were all looking forward to the final and thinking about that, and on the back of their minds, it was always playing on them. But we had crucial matches in between that period, and we sort of just went through the motions, and maybe didn't have the same hunger as we did, to reach the League Cup final and to get into that position initially. So the top four position which we had for quite some time, so I think they just took their foot off the gas a bit, and then also we just had this thing of we had a solid defense and we scored goals at ease at during a certain stage of the season. But then we went into a period where we weren't as solid defensively, so we were conceding now all of a sudden, and then the goals weren't coming as frequently as they were before. So it was a bit of a mixture. The defense wasn't doing as well, and the attack wasn't doing as well. So yeah, we had to go through that period. We had a few difficult fixtures: Liverpool, Man City, and United after each other. So I think it was just a matter of we came up against very good teams, and everything wasn't gelling as it was before. So but I think it happens to all teams. They go through a period during the season where things don't click as they used to, or maybe luck isn't on your side, where maybe a deflection goes against you and it's a goal conceded,
yeah,
or it's a free kick which somehow it goes in the back of the net. So I think we had that period, and we've hopefully gone past that now with our recent performances, and also the introduction of Alexander Isak, where Wilson was up front and the team was doing well in the build up, and then all of a sudden we get to the box and things don't happen. Whereas now with Isak, his movement is much better than Wilson. He's got that unpredictability where he can go in behind the defense. He can hold the ball up. He can win aerial battles. So all of a sudden now we have a bit of a spark where we were lacking maybe a month ago.
It's so weird though because I mean he's the club record signing and uh, it's not like Eddie Howe hasn't seen him deliver before for the team, and it's just like was what happened during that like couple of weeks when Isak was dropped to the bench. Yes, he might not have been match fit and stuff like that, but I mean, like he wasn't really getting much game time off the bench either.
Yeah, I think Eddie Howe he told the media that look, he felt that Isak had concussion, so he was ready to start the game, and then he had concussion, so he had to miss training for I think it was a week or 10 days or whichever amount of period of time it's supposed to be, but so he missed that period, and I think because of that, Eddie Howe sort of backed Callum Wilson, who went through a bad spell and then scored against West Ham. So it's almost like he was trying to say, you got your goal, you went through a dry spell, I'm going to give you another game or two to show me that you are now getting back into your best form, which didn't happen. So he was trying to be back his striker, which he knows quite well from his Bournemouth days, but at the same time he wasn't giving the minutes which he needed to show his talent. And so I think also a lot of the times when managers say, yes, he's not fit to play a 90 minutes, it's not easy. How else is he going to get that fitness or that sharpness if he's not playing?
Yeah.
You get that through playing.
Yeah.
So you can do as much as you want in training, but at the end of the day, that sharpness only comes when you play 90 minutes or at least start the game and you get through 60 or 70 minutes. So I think he made a bit of a mistake by not playing Isak earlier. But I think now that he started the last two games and if we've played the full 90 against Forest, so I think we are past that stage now where he will give Isak the minutes that he needs. And especially between now and the end of the season, I feel there's no need to play Callum Wilson unless Isak is not available.
Yeah. It's also just I mean on that, right? So you're saying Isak's a great player, but I think Arsenal had the same thing with Fabio Vieira. When we signed him, I thought, okay, this is a guy that comes out of Porto and he was pulling the strings, but it's a different system. It's obviously different requirements that are being asked of you now, right? So you have this great player and we see it in bits and starts, but can he sustain it over that period of time? And also with like something like that concussion, you obviously don't want to play games with that, because if he does play and then something does happen, we'd hate to see anything happen to him when he comes back, and he should have maybe stayed out for like longer and stuff. But it's also, I think, Eddie Howe knew Callum Wilson from like Bournemouth days already, so he has that understanding, and I think Callum also understood what Eddie Howe wants from a forward and in the system as well. So I think much like Vieira, when he started getting those minutes, it was what can you do in that time that was actually given. So it might not be as much as you want, but can you influence the game in a positive way in that little bit? And we saw it chipping away to the point where he starts, and then he was getting more assists, he was getting involved more in play. And now we see with Isak, where he led the line out of the week. I think it was against Notts, right? Yeah. And gets the first goal, gets a few good chances, interplays very good. Very clean player, technically very sound, can get a shot off, can jump. Like you said, he can link the play, he can get to the end of things. So, yeah, and then what a cool penalty at the end just to win it. And that's like, okay, guys, everybody wants Callum, and that's fine because Callum is good. But while I'm here, I'm going to show that I'm the guy. And, yeah, I think it worked out nicely. It's also good to have two forwards that can score goals going into this back end of the season where things do start to creep in, fatigue does start to play. And I think that's maybe what happened in that League Cup final, where not a lot of the guys probably played in big major finals, barring maybe like a Kieran Trippier or something like that. So maybe the stage might have been a bit too much. But in the same time, I think Newcastle are overshooting maybe a bit on their trajectory on where they should be in the first season. So it can be, there's times when maybe you're not supposed to be there, but you are, because you're playing luck, and that's that luck and stuff. So maybe a little bit of doubt creeps in when you don't win, and that's the slump that happens. So yeah, I think we always say that every season gets better, but I don't see how you can say it's not going to get any better now, because next season we'll have a fully flying Newcastle, having had a good season, God willing, a good transfer window where you stabilize correctly and not just signing everybody that's linked, or like how Man United's new owner wants to do, or potential new owner, get the fans involved. If that was the case for like Arsenal, we would have signed I'm not even sure. I would have signed Gary Cahill at the time. We would have signed all of these weird guys if the fans wanted it. But yeah, I think it should be interesting. It should be a very good thing. And hopefully you can see it through, and then we see Newcastle maybe playing European football of some sort at least.
Yeah, I just wanna go back to the like you guys were comparing Alexander Isak and Callum Wilson, but there's another guy that's been basically Newcastle's talisman this season, who is Miguel Almiron. And I
Yeah,
saw this weekend that he is out injured until the end of April. I'm not sure what happened to him, but that must be a huge blow for you guys, Wasim. How do you think Eddie Howe gets around that? Because I mean, there were so many times Newcastle were down in the rut, and on comes Almiron off the bench, and within like 5 to 10 minutes, the guy changes the game around. So that's quite quite a lot of like star power in a sense, coming off the bench, because the players and the fans, they know the moment Almiron comes on the pitch this season, something's going to change.
yeah.
He's had basically that golden touch. So how do you think Eddie Howe gets around the fact that this guy is going to be out for basically a month?
So it's quite interesting, the timing of the injury, because he went through a spell where he wasn't scoring much, and given how important he's been and how many goals he scored for us this season, he's our top scorer. He's always seemed to come up with a goal when we needed one, and so he went through a dry spell, including the final and the aftermath of that. So Eddie actually dropped him against Wolves, and I think many fans, myself included, were happy with that, because he's the type of player that he's not going to whoop in crosses and set up things. He's more about being in the right place and finishing. So if he's not scoring and he's not really going to be an assister, then besides his energy, maybe the team needs someone else in the final third. So I was happy not happy, but I felt it was the correct decision to drop him against Wolves. But then he came on and scored the winner. So I think
Yeah.
the impact which you want when you drop a player or when you rest a player is, listen, you're going to be on the bench, but you have the chance to come on and change the game. And he did that. So I think he was due to potentially start against Forest, but then he got a thigh injury, which Eddie mentioned. So it's 6 weeks on the sideline. Okay, we've got 2 weeks, luckily, away with international football, where there is no Premier League. So we're fortunate in that sense. It's only going to be maybe 3-4 matches that he might miss, instead of, if it was maybe a month later, we could have missed a lot more games. But I think because we already sort of dropped him, Jacob Murphy's done well in his position. We've got Saint Maximin. Anthony Gordon was also signed, and he can play out wide. So we do have options. Joe Linton also can play out wide if necessary. So we do have options. It's just a matter of now, who do we feel is going to be the right player to start. And I think Murphy, he's another player similar to Callum Wilson, where he knows the system. He knows, where he needs to be, when he needs to track back, when he needs to press, and all of that. So I think it's a good opportunity, and I think that's what you want also when you have a squad. You want to give certain players a run of 3 or 4 or 5 games and say, listen, you've got the jersey now, run with it and show me what you've got. So I think it's not ideal, but it's not also the end of the world, given that we have a few other options in that position.
Sounds good. Hope you guys actually carry this momentum forward. If it's at the expense of Liverpool at fourth, then I'm all for
Hey,
it.
Nikita, shout out there, no?
She's not here, so I can I would have said it if she was here as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Nah,
uh,
but yo, also just like, I mean, sorry, just to jump on that, like, I think more and more injuries are going to occur with all the football that teams have to play, right? We're
100%.
putting these players under, like, I'm saying we organize the fixtures, but they're being put under an obscene amount of games, and this quick turnaround times. Like, I'm really wondering, like, what's happening, man. Like, it's not gonna be anything that's sustainable. I think there was a picture of Jude Bellingham now recently, and shoulders strapped up, knees strapped up, like, I don't know. And now they going away on a 2-week international break, and I think things have gotten pretty competitive, like internationally speaking, and players want to play for countries naturally, so they give everything. And I just don't see how it's ever sustainable. So all these injuries, I mean, many teams are losing key players, and it's at key times, and it's just like, okay, just keep dancing. You just like keep poking him, like keep going and stuff. But it's just
It's really tough because I looked at the fixture. Well, if you look at the fixtures, I looked at Newcastle's, for example. We've got 12 games to go. Our next game is the 2nd of April. The season
Yeah.
ends middle of May. Basically,
Yeah.
we've got 12 games to play in 6, 8 weeks, maybe. And that's a really short period of
Yeah.
time. And then that's only us. What about Man City? We've got Champions League, FA Cup, and the
Yeah.
league to finish
Keep
in
them
that
busy.
period.
Keep them
So,
busy.
so it's
Yeah.
really.
But it's okay, man. You guys don't have the league to watch, but you
And
must.
United, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, United seem to be going for the treble in terms of the cups, the League Cup, the FA Cup, and the Europa League. So yeah,
Guys,
Quadruple, man. They
our
still in the title race, isn't it?
guys, our players are absolutely knackered at the moment.
Bro, honestly, eh?
Jeez.
I don't know why every game Bruno gets 90. He should get 45 at
Yeah.
most, based solely on performance, right? But then looking at his body, he looks like he's been through the ringer. I think Rashford went down yesterday, and I was like, oh, yeah, here's somebody else is going. And then, okay, like shakes it off and stuff. But it's
Yeah,
also,
he came off limping.
yeah, it's not sustainable, man.
Mm.
You are going to kill these guys, and you're going to try and ring them out, and then you'll wonder why players are only going to play till like 30, 31, 32, maybe. They're going to be clear. And
Yeah, and
it's, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the news about the next World Cup, how they're expanding the teams and everything, and it's crazy. I think it's like a 48 team World
Yeah.
Cup, so
Yeah,
that
it's
means
something
much
like
more.
100 and odd games. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're going to run these guys into the ground, and like you mentioned, it's not sustainable. Their careers will probably hit the ceiling at around like 30, 31, or 32,
Yeah.
compared to where players used to hit 37, 38. Um, it's crazy, and I mean, like some of them might not even hit the age 30 at this rate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, now just as you're mentioning all those games, I wonder if they now change the rules and say that squads can be bigger when it comes to World Cup. I mean, you're now playing
Yeah.
more games. I doubt we see an increase on the 5 sub rule, because that's already something that just changed, and that's already confused like lots of people. I mean, we've always had 3 subs, but yeah, just giving teams bigger squads. But then it's up to the national teams whether they'll actually rotate, Then it's like, okay, but can I chop and change? And so, yeah, maybe it would be interesting to see. It's going to be wild. Plus, is it going to happen in the off-season, or is it going to happen mid-season? Will we have World Cups where we need to look at weather always and all that stuff?
I think that was the once off, to be honest. I think
You think so?
yeah,
Okay.
I think it just moves back to June, July, and it
End of
stays
season,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, it just makes the most sense to have it over there. Cuts into the players' holidays and stuff. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, with more teams being included in the World Cup as well, that means more players of each club will end up making it, because there's more international teams, more spots open. Like I'm not complaining. South Africa might have a better chance of making World Cups now moving forward. So that's great from our point of view. But yeah, it's crazy, and like I really fear for the players' health and safety. Just moving back to United, that FA Cup quarterfinal that happened yesterday. I'd really like to get you guys' views on that insane 90-second spell that just turned the game on its head.
It was interesting. I was having a discussion with my girlfriend actually, and we were saying like it's hard, right? Because Willian, it's hard when you look at giving a penalty and a red. But I think that one should have maybe been, because there's a clear movement to almost stop it. Now, if I'm him, I let the goal go in because I still play with 11 men. That's fine, and we have something to go. 1-1. It's not the worst. Now you save that,
100%.
then they score the penalty, and then you send off. I think Mitrovic has always had a bit of a temper, and he felt that he should have gotten a penalty. I think the two claims that he had were soft. There was one where I think Harrison Reed plays him in and he like falls there. I think that was very soft. Maybe I might have not seen it correctly. I don't know what the second one was. But yeah, should never be reacting that way. Like there's rules to this thing, and not everybody gets the decisions that they want. It maybe goes back to consistency, because maybe some other player might have gotten it. But yeah, what a crazy spell, right? And from suddenly conceding a goal to losing two men plus your coach as well, and then then you must like play scrappy, and then
What
suddenly
what
the heads dropped, and then concede a second, and then the third was bound to come.
whatever
Yeah,
Marco Silva said must
yeah,
have
that
been
is.
something on the extra hot spicy level,
Yeah,
because I think it was about 4 or 5 words and that red card came out immediately. It wasn't
yeah,
even like a yellow card, like here's a warning or something.
yeah.
What? You must have said something extremely hectic to that referee for him to bring out that straight red. Real curious to know what it was.
But I think that's where a manager sometimes should try and keep the calm, because it rubs off
Yeah,
on the players.
yeah,
And you know, with such a um, temperamental coach and the captain,
mm,
um, and they losing their heads basically cost the team. So it shows that sometimes, I love seeing managers show passion, but also sometimes they've got to rein it in, because at the end of the day, what you do, you are leading by example. So what players see, they will follow. And yeah, I think it was sad because, like, for Fulham, from what I didn't watch the whole game. From what I read or what I heard, is that Fulham are actually playing really well and were deservedly in front at the stage. So you've got 70 minutes plus having been played already, and now all of a sudden to throw it away by, you know, a decision not going your way. It happens, and at the end of the day, 1-1 at that point was still not a bad result, because
yeah,
you fighting for quarterfinal on the line, so, or semi-final berth actually. So yeah, I think it's just not good to see. And sometimes I feel managers and captains need to have that sense of calmness, rather than putting everything out there, and then it can get your team in trouble. And in this case, it did. Yeah, so
yeah,
it's I'm sad for Fulham, because I think they've had a great season and they could potentially have got a semi-final spot, but now it's all been thrown away. Moments of madness.
Yeah, no, that I
yeah.
mean, sorry, Jason. I was just
No,
going
no,
to
no. I
do
was
like
gonna say, yeah,
a bit of a comparison between like people have been talking about that Bruno Fernandes push on the referee from a couple of weeks ago, and comparing it to what Mitrovic did yesterday.
yeah,
Um, I'm not defending like Bruno Fernandes in whatever way. Like I didn't like seeing that in real time. Like uh, during that game, I feel like Bruno Fernandes got like let everything get the better of him, and he didn't act accordingly as a Manchester United captain should. But I feel like the type of push and the type of physical um, sort of movement towards the referee was a bit more violent from Mitrovic. So I can understand why he was punished and why Bruno Fernandes wasn't. Uh, you guys have any sort of takes on how you guys see the two different incidents?
I think
um,
the one part, like the Bruno one, was obviously the assistant ref. So potentially the ref couldn't, maybe he missed it. So he might not even have seen the push. And because it was this, I think it was the side of the ref that he sort of pushed. So it wasn't, whereas as it wasn't as aggressive as Mitrovic. And obviously Mitrovic pushed the ref, so the ref is the one that's going to dish out the red card. So yeah, it was just, I think it was definitely, if you had to ask me of the two, which one was the red, I would definitely say the Mitrovic one. But I think Bruno, it wasn't great. And I think, as we always say, players are example to role models to all the fans and the spectators out there. So they need to act accordingly as well. So I wasn't happy with the Bruno incident, because the moment you're putting your hands on an official, I think that doesn't send a good message. So that for me, even if, albeit not as hard, could also have been a red card, and I wouldn't have been upset with that either. But out of the two, Mitrovic was definitely bad. But I feel I'm glad the ref gave the red card, because it sends a message that you do not mess with the officials in any way. It should be non-negotiable, and so I'm glad at least that happened yesterday.
Yeah, I was actually talking to AF before this, and I was saying like I wouldn't say. I mean, I said we need to bully refs, right? But I obviously didn't mean physically. But yeah, like you said, it sets that precedent for that. You actually can't go as much as the emotions are high. Like if everybody reacted on their first emotion, we'd be in absolute shambles, right? This is football, but also in general life. So as paid professionals, we pay to do a job, and then they need to react accordingly. And okay, they're also humans. Sometimes things do get the better of them. But yeah, I think Mitrovic maybe pushed it a bit. And it's actually crazy to think about, because I think Mitrovic is like 27, right? So he's like, and he's been playing for so long. So it's not like he's a youngster who just got like this hotshot youngster. He's always been a hothead. Like that can't be your default setting, man.
Yeah.
Like it can't be that, okay, I'll just rough up the refs because I'm Serbian or something like that. Like, I do think that sometimes players want to put hands on refs because of the shoddy decisions. But yeah, the line that I'm drawing is that, yeah, it should never be. And I do think, as much as Bruno's one was also wild, because I think he has a temperament to always complain. And I feel like that was almost the next step, because after any decision, be it for him or be it for the team, he's always one of those captains that goes directly into the face. And it feels like he toes a very tight line. So that could have possibly been the very next step. But yeah, I don't think it could be compared the same. And I think it's a bit of a reach to say, okay, look here, this one is the same as that one. Even though Bruno's was bad, I think Mitrovic is obviously the worst one. But yeah, good example to actually just show, like, okay, look here, if you are going to do this, then fine, we'll just show you what's going to happen. Your team is just going to suffer. So then it puts the onus on the clubs to then reprimand players as well.
Yeah, no, like you put it, like you actually said it so quite well, that there's a line that you can't cross. And
Yeah,
I mean, like, this is a game that we all love. It's a beautiful game, and even though the referees, they make some rubbish decisions sometimes, whether it's them, whether it's VAR,
yeah,
I mean, like, you still have to show the referees the respect. I mean, they're the ones that's calling the things on the field. They're the
yeah,
guys officiating these games. You have to still give them a decent amount of respect. You can call them out, whether it's after the game, whether it's whatever. Like, they still deserve to be called out, because I mean, at the end of the day, when you go to work, when you performing your job every day, if you're not performing to the best of your ability, or to the levels that you're supposed to, then you're going to get reprimanded. You get, like, your boss is going to call you in. Okay, your level isn't good. You need to, like, raise it a bit. The referees should be held accountable in the exact same way, but there's a way to do it, and that's the way Mitrovic went about doing it. That's definitely not it.
yeah.
But yeah, moving on from that FA Cup match of yesterday, Jason, your team are flying, eh? They are
Yo,
absolutely flying.
yeah,
They look a bit they looked a bit nervy against Palace in that opening 20-25 minutes or so, but
no, for sure.
yeah, they just gathered themselves and regrouped and went for it.
Yeah, it was. I think every game now, like I think some of the players have said, and I think we all understand it now. Every game becomes that cup final, and every cup final is very cagey. And I think every team now comes because they understand that this run of games is very important to us. So whilst it might not look like it's difficult fixtures, right? Crystal Palace at home, we'll have Southampton at home, we'll have, I think we played Everton at home already, but like Leeds at home, it all becomes scrappy games because the teams that we're playing are fighting for like relegation struggles, and that's how they're going through that. But they also, it's a feather in the cap if they stop the league leaders. And what a difference a few days makes when we look at Thursday's performance against Sporting, where the team couldn't pass the ball properly. And then suddenly we have this fluid system now on Sunday. And I have a conspiracy that I feel like we almost intentionally got out of that Thursday competition just because it frees up April, because April would then have been mad for us, right? And I see City's run, it's like they've got like 2 or 3 days between. I think it's not Liverpool. They've got Chelsea. They've got a West Ham. They've got a Champions League. Then they have us, and it's just like, you know what? Maybe we're not actually mad that we're out of Europa. I think we're in this position now. We're out of all of the cups. We have one thing to go for, and it both gives us something that we haven't had for an extremely long time, which is the league, potentially, knock on wood. And then it also gives us Champions League, which we also haven't had for an extremely long time. So, yeah. I think if we can continue in this vein, I think it'll be good. We obviously, I think, like Newcastle, we're getting a bit of, well, not Newcastle particularly, but any team now where there's a few injuries that are now creeping in. And it's key guys, or guys that have been instrumental into the success thus far. So, yeah, it's nervy. It's, as Nikita says, it is squeaky bum time, right? Like every game becomes very tricky. And we still got Chelsea that have to come to us. We still have to go to Liverpool. We still have to go to City. We have to still go to Newcastle, which is never an easy game, especially with last season's result. When we went to Newcastle, we needed to get the result. So, yeah, it's both nervy, but at the same time, it's also nice because there's a tangible evidence for certain games. Like Crystal Palace at home, last season, the season before, they always used to, they'd have something. Wolves has got 3 or 4 good games. 2 of them against Arsenal. He has one against Chelsea, and then he has one against United. That's like the standard, maybe, right? Brentford last season lost away. Went there, completely walked them off the park. I think the Brighton games, we've always struggled, and I think I can confidently say that we walked them off their own park when we had played them. I think it was before Christmas or just after Christmas. That 4-2 win, I don't think many teams have gone to Brighton and given them that sort of performance. It also seemed like we were in like second or third gear. So there's that evidence that, okay, it is actually going in a decent direction. You can now look back year on year, there's that improvement. But yeah, it's just like, it's scary, man. It's like there's that back of the mind where Arsenal had that thing, you know, where either if it's not February, if it's not March, then it's April that we throw it away and we end up finishing the season with nothing. So whilst I'm very much buying in and I'm very happy, the 8 points, hopefully it stays 8 points. But yeah, it's just enjoying the ride, I think, because I think next season the teams will be more consistent. So yeah.
You mentioned that you have this conspiracy that like Arteta or the team wanted to go out of the Europa League, like, which is all good and well, but if you guys don't end up seeing the league through after this and you end up with 0 trophies this season, that's going to be a lot of egg on the face of all the players, I think. And
Yeah.
with the if I'm looking at City's final few fixtures over here, they have Liverpool, they have Southampton, they have Leicester, Brighton, Arsenal, Fulham, Leeds, Everton, Chelsea, and Brentford. So probably 3 out of those are really tough
Sticky game for
opposition.
them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I mean, with Highland scoring a hat trick every single game now, because he's an android like that. Like it's like, I mean, the Arsenal players and the Arsenal management team, they have to be thinking, okay, so what happens if we can't see this through? And
Yeah.
what do you think would be going through the minds of everybody over there?
I think we have to give credit to Arteta because I think he's come out in almost every interview, and almost all of the players seem to have this mindset that it's just a game at a time, right? Which is essentially what it is. You now wanting to put pressure on a result that or a match that hasn't happened. I think that's just going to create anxiety, right? You wanting to control this outcome that hasn't even happened yet. So I think credit to them for not putting it further than the very next game. If we don't win the league, I think we'll be very disappointed. I mean, we've led it for a very long time. And I know when we started the season, I think people asked, and I said, I literally just want Champions League, right? Because get that back, it means we get more money. It means we then attract, we then can strengthen the squad to compete on a longer level with City, because we see City just have that thing, right? Where, and especially now in this period from March to May, where they just pull on all of it. And if they get out of the Champions League, then they put everything in the FA Cup and League, and they generally win those two. I think it will be a sad thing, but I think Arteta has spoken about how we're only on year 3 of a 5-year plan. So I'm not sure what the 5-year plan culminates in. Maybe Arsenal win the World Cup, or maybe we win the Confed Cup. I really don't know. Maybe it's global domination. But it's like, looking at this, I'm struggling, or not struggling. I can see where we want to go. It will be upsetting, and I really want this title, because people say City have been bad, Liverpool have been bad. But yes, that's true by the standards that they've showed for this last few seasons. But I also think, as the youngest squad, or the youngest average age, I think we've been doing very well to accumulate the points that we've gotten at this stage, and to be going head to head like with City. And like, okay, Liverpool haven't been consistent. Liverpool look like they need a good rebuild. And I'm saying this knowing that I think I saw something about them offering Milner another contract. So I really don't know what's going to happen there. So yeah, people saying that everything's not going good for the league, but I think also, yeah, credit has to go to Arteta and that stuff. Yeah, I actually don't want to think about what happens if Arsenal don't win the league. I want to focus on the positives. I want to focus on the very next game. After we beat Crystal Palace, I'm like, can we not play again on like Wednesday or Thursday, so we can continue this momentum? This 2 weeks comes at a time where it does make me a bit nervous, but also at the same time, like Wasim said, with Almiron's injury, maybe some of the guys that are a bit fatigued or maybe a bit injured, they don't go away with the national team. They stay, they recoup, and we then plot for the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and what we need to do, and chalk off, okay, out of the next 4 games, we want 9 points. We want 10 points or stuff like that. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I actually feel that I looked at the log earlier, and Arsenal have played 74% of their games this season. So they 28 divided by 38, 74% basically. They are 3/4 of the way through the season, and their bad spell was, I think, a draw and a loss. 2 games, a draw and a loss, where they, got 1 out of 6 points. But other than that, they've actually been super impressive in that they've always been up for the next game and super consistent. And I think I looked at City's fixtures, and I think they've had 23 unbeaten games out of 27. So they've only lost 4 out of 27, which is not bad. It's not bad, but yet they're still 8 points behind Arsenal. So I think we really have to give Arsenal credit. And I feel that, if they were going to have a bad spell and not win the league, I think it would have happened by now. So I think the fact that out of all the other competitions, they are now a quarter away, from being at the end of the season. They will now, they're almost in touching distance of where they want to be in terms of winning the league. So they've got 69 points. I think generally 87 points is what wins you the league, or thereabouts.
Normally,
So if we're looking at that, they need about 6 wins out of the 10 games to win the league. And that's if City go on this expected run where they're going to, win 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row. If they don't, if City drop more points, then 87 might not even be needed. So I feel that with City still being in the FA Cup, the Champions League, they've got Real Madrid. So I think it's Real Madrid. So it's going to be super tough for them. In terms of 2 Champions League quarterfinal matches, they've got, the FA Cup, and they've got the league where they have to perform. There's no, okay, we can drop points here or there. So I feel it's all in Arsenal's court. I think they're going to win the league because, like I said, if they were going to lose the league or drop points, it would have happened by now. And the fact that they haven't done that, I feel they're definitely going to go all the way and actually finish the job. So I think the question of what if they don't win it shouldn't be there. I feel Arteta needs to just reiterate to the team that what if we do win the league, and we've done so to now, we just need to finish the job. So I feel he just needs to put that in the players' minds that we can win the league, and we are destined to win it, and I think they'll go ahead and do it. So that's what I would be if I was Arteta. I would be putting that in the players' minds and not think anything negative, because that could just be detrimental.
Yeah, and
For sure.
I mentioned this on a couple of I think it was a podluck that we recorded probably like 3 shows ago or something, and I mentioned that based on the Amazon documentary that was filmed, it's very apparent that Arteta is very much in tune with that mental side of the game, and it seems like he tries to get the game won before the players even go out onto the pitch. He tries to motivate them. He tries to get into their heads to ensure that they know what's expected of them. And if that's still not enough, then come half time, he doubles down on that. And it seems like the players have all really bought into that. So it's not like Arteta is still like trying to find his way through getting through to everybody. They've all bought into it every stage. And, I mean, it's apparent there with the way you guys are sitting cozy there with an 8-point lead. So I, personally, I think you guys will end up seeing this through. It's just that 3 games that you guys have. It's against City, against Chelsea, and Newcastle, and or 4 games, Newcastle and Liverpool.
Liverpool
So
as well.
those are the question marks. It depends how you guys come out against those teams. I think Liverpool is at Anfield, so that's
That's
I mean, United thought, okay, no, Liverpool haven't really been in great form this season. We went to
it's
Anfield and we got
completely different. Yeah, it's a
our
completely different
backsides
world.
absolutely spanked.
Mm.
So yeah, it's like it's really not cut and dry. Like it's still a huge fixture, it's still a huge game.
Yeah,
And I feel like I remind every single one of those players. Don't think that we won the league already. Take every single game as it comes. Don't celebrate yet. We still have a long way to go, and yeah, like he's very much in tune with that mental side.
no, for sure, man. I was also just I've always been talking to one of my good friends, good Arsenal fan as well, and we always hold Liverpool at Anfield as a reference point and almost as a marker. I think that's what we've said in like recent years. Okay, Arteta's been doing well, and we beat Spurs, maybe beat Chelsea, maybe beat United and stuff like that. But whenever we go to Anfield, we completely just go into our shells, and I think that's maybe the case with like everybody, because going to Anfield is hard, right? Because they have this aura about them. Maybe it's Virgil van Dijk's aura that wraps right around the stadium, but it's just like there's that thing. So I think if you want to see that tangible evidence, just go and play well. Don't let them completely dominate you, which is what they overwhelm you, right? They engulf you, and it's just end to end stuff basically. So yeah, I think that 4 games, and I think thankfully people have questioned us and they said, okay, no, it's this run that will definitely choke them up. Okay, if they can survive Christmas, then they'll be fine. Oh no, Jan, cold month, let's get them through that. Yeah, okay, so we're out of all the cups, but we've survived all those other runs. So like Wasim says, and yeah, I think like you've mentioned, I'd like to believe that we can push through. And yeah, I can't imagine what's going to happen, especially if we lift it after my birthday. It's my crown birthday on the 27th of May, and the final game is on the 28th. So I think I'm probably going to get a tattoo of like that heart and that brain that was in season 1 of All or Nothing, heart and soul, and put that somewhere.
What a legend. Now, I hope it happens for you, man. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
on that note, let us wrap this one up. Any final words from you guys before we call it?
Nah, just enjoy the 2 weeks off, man. International break. Don't
Yeah, I
get
think,
injured now, please.
yeah, I think don't get injured is definitely the key phrase for all our players from all the
Yeah.
clubs. And then the other thing is, I think if by the time we have another episode, I think Antonio Conte is going to be out of a job, after
Yo,
he's around. So we didn't have time to touch on that,
we
but
didn't
I
have
think
time to
it's
get on
going
that.
to be
Yeah.
gone by the time we have another episode.
No, for sure.
That guy was begging for the sack, absolutely begging for it.
I think
But
we
yeah,
we should definitely start. Just last thing, we should definitely have like a case study about that. One episode, just sit down and get Riaz in here, and let's just literally, that's a think piece, 100%.
no, sounds good. Sounds good. You have to get Riaz in for that one.
Mhm.
I feel like a 45-minute to 60-minute session won't be enough, but let's see how it goes. But yeah, on that note, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Sportycast. Give this video a like, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Hit the little bell at the bottom as well. That will just notify you whenever we upload new videos. Yeah, just show us some love. Share it with everybody you know, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your friends. Yeah, and thank you to Jason and Wasim for being cool
Thanks,
co-hosts
Dave.
as always. I'm a 4343. Peace.